Whew. So today I haven't got a wedding on today, I've got a 21st birthday party. It's at a brand new venue, well, brand new venue for me. I've never been there before at all, so I'm really not sure what to expect. The only things I really know is it's a barn, which can be quite tricky for lighting. So what I want to do today is just quickly show you the gear that I'm taking, because I'm not going to take all my wedding gear. It'd just be way overkill when I just don't need all of that hassle. I'm going to take minimal even amount of gear with me, just so I've got enough. I've got like a backup lens, etc, etc. If you've been following the channel, you know that I've bashed Canon quite heavily recently. So what I want to do for today is just shoot Canon. I am typically a Sony shooter now, but I want to show you that I'm not completely biased against Canon, that I'm happy to use them. They're still great cameras. I can still get great images from them. So with that in mind, let's have a look at what's in the bag. So just bear with me a second. Oh. Okay, so I have a 5D Mark IV. This is going to be actually my backup camera for today. I'm going to be using the old 5D Mark III as my main camera, just because the 5D Mark III doesn't get out to play much at the moment. And then I've got 1635, this is the f4 version with image stabilization. This would be like my backup lens, you might say. And I've got 2470, the 2.8 Mark II. Fantastic lens, perfect. And most importantly, ear protectors, because we all know discos, oh god, because we know discos get really loud, and just having some of those ear things in your ears, it just makes it so much nicer. You don't get home in, like, I don't know, whatever time in the morning, your head's just pounding. With those things in, they're only going to cost you, what, £5 or something like that. Makes a world of difference. Honestly guys, if you haven't tried them at a wedding yet, do so. Just go into a pharmacy, pick some up, you'll thank me later, I promise you. So, in my lighting bag here, we will have, now this is perhaps a little bit overkill on the amount of gear, but my main lights are going to be the, basically the Godox AD200s. I've got two of these, as you can see, there's a second one. Quite honestly, the best flash on the market for weddings, labelled A and B for obvious reasons. Don't really need to explain that one too much. Some triggers, speed light with just a simple gel on it, spare speed lights here, and there's two more just over here as well. Bunch of these young youth kind of trigger things, bunch of batteries here, you know, just double A's, and bloody, I can't even get it out. Simple light meter that I basically almost never use, actually. I can't remember the last time I used it, long time ago. And a torch. This is just my trusty zoom torch thing. Super good. And that's pretty much it. This here is like an extra head which goes on these. As you know, or you may not know, oh, that pops off, and this will go on top of there, basically. So this is just like a Fresnel type lens hood thing, and this, if you can get it out, has a bulb in it, so it's pretty good. And I just keep a quick grid on there. Can't remember what angle it is or anything like that, but it does the job. And that's pretty much it in my lighting bag for this evening. So, as I say guys, minimal amount of gear really. I would take a little bit more camera wise especially. My lighting bag doesn't really change that much. I do have things like an ice light I can take if I shoot in bride and grooms, but I'm not really doing any kind of like portraits of people really this evening. I've got a couple of group shots to do beforehand, but that's pretty much it. It's not too much I've got to do, which is great. Otherwise, let's get on with it. So just arrived at the venue, and thank God I left myself a little bit of extra time to actually get here, because there's a little bit of confusion with the road or the naming of the place. Basically there's no sign outside, it just said private land, like private farm, and the birthday boy's basically just driving the tractor around at the moment. I don't know if you can hear that. Let's see if we can see it in the background. You see it down there? Yeah, that's the the guy's birthday, or whose birthday it is today, I should say. So I'm going to go set up some bits and pieces, and I guess I'll start work. Okay, so not much room to actually work in here, but we're going to make this work, and it's going to look good. Going to get some great pictures, no question. Just got to think about where I'm going to put my lights. So as you can see in the video, there wasn't much space to actually set my lights up at all. It was a very tight space. I couldn't believe it. When I walked in there, I was expecting to see, you know, a typical kind of barn, wooden kind of structure. Well, there was that, but that's where there was basically a 3-course meal happening. So I only had that little area, and that's where the DJ was set up. There was a photo booth there as well. And I had to get all this in, my lighting gear, put it in position so basically people wouldn't fall into it or bash into it as they're dancing, you know, the drunken kind of sort. So yeah, not much space to work with, but I managed to get it done, as you see in these pictures. So it's fine in the end, but it's just a little bit of a struggle, and this is something that happens quite often at venues. We turn up, especially ones we haven't been to, and we've got no idea what we're working with. Quite often, you know, you might get a lovely large space to work with, which has its own challenges, and sometimes you end up with a very small space, which is very difficult to actually control the light. What I did with this one is just revert to very similar settings that I normally do. So I think the flashes are on about 1/16th, maybe 1/32 of a power, you know, because it's such a small area. But your settings on those will change depending on the actual flashes that you're using and the space that you've got available. So always double check on the back of your camera. Camera settings wise, I was on a 200 for a second, 2.8 and ISO 500. I think I was on that pretty much most of the night. It's a general kind of like settings. Typically I have the ISO a little bit higher, but because it's very difficult in such a small space, I had to have a little bit less to stop less. But otherwise, double check the settings on the back of the camera, take a quick couple of sample shots, whether that's with somebody in the hall or not, and just make sure you're happy with the actual exposure that you're getting out the back of the camera. Also think about your white balance. If you want that kind of really nice rich tones to your pictures, basically I put mine on daylight white balance actually. Even though I'm indoors and I'm using flashes with gels, etc, etc, I still put it on daylight white balance, and for me personally it gives a really pleasing look. Again, test it out, see what you like, but I wouldn't recommend leaving it to auto white balance because there's a lot of mixed colors going on in the scene and it will confuse the hell out of your camera. So set your white balance, set everything in manual, and you're going to get some wicked pictures. And that's pretty much it. It's really kind of simple kind of setup. I'll try and do another video at some point where I go into a lot more detail on a larger environment, you might say, and get more flashes up. I remember these shots were all taken with just 2 flashes, my AD200s, which again are the best flashes for wedding photography or event photography that you can buy on the market. They just are fantastic, guys. Buy them. Thank me later, as I said earlier with the earbuds, you know, they are absolutely amazing. That's enough of me rambling for the moment, guys. I hope you like the pictures, hope you like the information. Go out and test it for yourselves. You know, maybe you've got a garage or something like that you can actually just test it. It's quite challenging in a small space, so just have a quick play, see what you like, you know. It doesn't matter if you don't get any good shots at the moment, but test it before you actually go to an event. And that's it. I'll catch you next time.